And then I wiggled it about a bit and put my thumb in the ground and made a hole, into which I put the magnet, but with its north end facing south and its south end facing north. And I just covered over the hole and left.
So it was within an inch, the correct place. And then there was the final touch. I found that in the bag I brought up, there was a Tupperware container with what looked like brown stew in it. And it was actually a cow pat laid that morning in Gloucestershire.
And Bamber said he knew the height of a cow's bottom. So he did the pouring of the cow poo over the spot and splopped it around very much like it would be. And we left. Now the hare's been buried. It's up to you to find it.
Kit's great treasure hunt, once begun, would eventually lead to his own disappearance. But in his seclusion, Kit is free to become as obsessed with and committed to an idea as he wants. So now, he just sets challenges for himself.
I like to intrigue myself. I come up with an impossible situation. Can you do this? I wonder, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could just touch a painting and it spins? I thought, well, that would be simple. It would be like mounting a bicycle wheel on the wall. I could do that. But how can I make it so as it kept spinning and kept spinning? And then it occurred to me that if I combined the weight of a pendulum along with a revolving gear, then maybe I could do it that way. And having touched it in that way, it goes on for 9 minutes.
I first found a painting of his on a wall in a house that I was working in. This guy who had this painting just said, well, I'll take you over to see his show one day. And that's how we come to meet him. We tried it in each room. We tried to get it up the stairs out of the way, but it wouldn't go up the stairs. We tried it in the living room and it wouldn't stand up. So the only room left was in here. It wouldn't stand up in here either, but we thought, well, if we dig the floor out a little bit, we might just be able to stand it up against the wall. Got a lad like just with his friends, it caused a bit of a problem, like, you know. We used to keep it covered because of that. If we had to, we'd sell the house and live in a tent, as long as we could keep the paintings. You could offer whatever you liked, and we would not sell it.
Gloucestershire may be Kit country, but the rest of Britain remains ignorant of his recent achievements. The reason is the noisy success of his infamous book, which, as it got louder and louder, left Kit less and less interested in fame and fortune.
Let's now meet the author of Masquerade, who's just flown in from Japan, the fiendishly devious Kit Williams.
The first edition of the book sold out within 2 days or something like that. They were reprinting so fast, it was just... It became a sort of sensation in a way that it moved so fast. Last November, it was a night like night. Rain was pouring down, and I lived way out in the country, and there was a knock on the door. And I opened the door and looked out, and there's 2 huge fellas standing there, covered in mud and absolutely wet right through. And I thought, no. And they said, it's okay. We're not here to bash you up. All we want to know is how deep is it? We're down to 15 feet. How far we got to go? I had no idea that the book would take off and that I'd make any form of living out of the book.
I mean, it was really fun, but I think it took off more than anybody imagined. And so poor Kit, I think, first of all, did one of those really grim publicity tours of the States. Obviously, the publishers insist that you do that, which left him completely doolally. I think, poor guy, he was so tired. You don't know what television studio you're in or what time of day it is. I was unprepared. I had just an ordinary telephone number, so anybody could get me through direct inquiries and phone me up, and it just really got out of hand very, very quickly. I think it was a very troublesome time for Kit, because all these letters coming in, he came to absolutely hate them. He just opened them, threw them. He had to read everyone to make sure nobody had sent the answer in, which they'd been asked to do.
And then he used the envelopes to cook his kettle for his morning tea. He's a very practical man.
The American attitude was they would read it, oh, fantastic, and start guessing. You know, underneath Nelson's column, you know, things like this. And they couldn't get into it in that way. It was always guessing, whereas the Japanese saw it as a book of philosophy.
I don't think he enjoyed any of it. I don't think... Well, firstly, Kit is not somebody who's particularly interested in money, so he didn't enjoy the money. Then Kit likes to lead a quiet life, and of course the press were constantly onto him. And at times, you know, at the beginning he was very grateful to me for having fostered this creature. But later he was quite resentful at times because I had destroyed his peaceful life. And he was right, I did.
Over the years, Masquerade has become something of an albatross, obscuring everything that Kit has done before or since. And while the book was a huge mainstream success, it worked against Kit in terms of the art establishment. For them, Kit was forever a puzzle maker, an illustrator, but no longer a credible artist.
Popularist was the term that was often, you know, he was a popularist artist, and that was the equivalent of a bad smell in established art circles, I think.
Kit's work still sold, but it was considered deeply unfashionable. No one's ever bought any of his pictures for a public gallery, and his refusal to exhibit means he hasn't had a critical review in 3 decades. As far as the art world is concerned, Kit's dead.
Nomine Patri, et Filii, et Spiritus Sanctus.
If you think about all art for an awfully long time, but very strongly in modernism, it's driven by 2 forces. One, to be new, to be novel, to be doing something different. And the other is to be reflecting and talking about your time. He's not really doing either. I mean, his value is fantastic. Children love his book. It gives all those little things and intricacies and labyrinthine pictures to look at. But he's never going to be someone who is breaking new boundaries, and that's where the fashionable art world is.
Why do I need dealers and critics and people like that? They feel themselves to be an authority, and I'm not interested in their authority. And the other side of it, whereas you just have to believe it's right, that's rather like religion. And I don't want a religion of art either.
The question for many critics is this: is Kit an artist or just a talented painter? Is what Kit does real art? Well, one person who thinks it is former Turner Prize winner Keith Tyson.
Well, this is a piece that I got, I think, maybe 5-6 years ago. I decided I was going to have my own art collection, and so I started purchasing things that I'd found influential. And I'd got the Andy Warhol, and I bought myself a Damien Hirst and all these different people. And then it just occurred to me, I thought, well, you know what? A really major influence on me was Kit Williams.
Keith's studio is an art factory, with a staff of painters working under his direction on a number of simultaneous projects. It's a world away from Kit's solitary confinement.
I haven't put the years and years of work into developing a craft in the way that Kit has, which is something I'm quite envious of. The great British inventors, they're people who pursue their passion, and there's definitely an air of that around Kit's work, of somebody creating something based on their own stubborn desire to see it manifested.
Kit's stubborn desire to create, hidden from the world, allows him to work, but it also allows him to be ignored and to avoid being judged. Is it the coward's way out?
I think you have to really put yourself under an exposed glare to work as an artist. I've come more and more just to share admiration of the type of personality you need to be a successful artist, because I couldn't do it, being sort of shot at and gunned down wherever you go and exposing yourself and just having that sheer courage and self-confidence that this is right, this is what you've done, and going out there. And maybe he doesn't really have the balls to do that in some way. There's nothing wrong with not having it, but at the moment, very successful artists, they do have this extraordinary ability